Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World. This is Women Empowerment Talk Radio. And we are back for the new year. Happy New Year, all you all. Glad to have you with us this beautiful, beautiful day here in Seattle, Washington. Oh, yes, we are glad to be back on the air with you all. Again, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and we're looking forward to an amazing 2023. Okay, yes, definitely looking forward to doing some new things here on the show, and then also to just business wise, looking to expand our territory. Definitely, approach 2023 in a new way. So we want to definitely go ahead and introduce our guest for this afternoon, Miss Sabrina Morris. Miss Sabrina, are you there this afternoon? Yes, hello, Miss Sabrina Morris. All right, all right. Well, I believe that she. Oh, there you are.
Friday. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here to share with the audience, see how we can encourage each other.
That's exactly it. Yes. Well, before we jump into our interview today, as I normally love to do, y'all, want to go ahead and give some announcements. Want to let everyone know the Women in Business Expo Group, we have completed workshops number 1 through 4. Yes. Oh, that has been an amazing journey for us. To complete those workshops with Echo Glen Youth Detention Center here in Washington State. We've completed all 4 workshops. We had workshop number 1, that was getting started in business. Number 2 was our Trials to Triumph workshop. And then number 3 was a social media workshop. And number 4 was our community resource workshop. And was it amazing? We had a number of guest speakers come out to that workshop there, which was virtual, but we still performed. We still did a good job, you know, and encouraging these young people here, in entrepreneurship and definitely taking a different career path in what they've already done. So it was amazing. I'm so glad that we have completed workshops number 1 through 4, as I stated, and looking forward into 2023, working with other facilities that are out there, and they don't have to be in Washington State, definitely. So for those that are out there that are tuned in and listening, we are looking for other facilities it is that we can work with our youth entrepreneurship program. So again, if you're interested in being a speaker or panelist, volunteer. You just have time to give to some young people. We want to hear from you, y'all. Okay. You can definitely email us, Women in Business Expo Group at yahoo.com. You just put speaker there in the subject line, and then we'll go from there. Definitely reach out to you and include you in on upcoming workshops, working with young people, keeping them inspired and motivated, encouraging them and transforming lives, of young people. That's what it is that it's all about. So definitely we want to continue to keep you posted on that, the Youth Entrepreneurship Program with the Women in Business Expo Group. Also, too, want to let you guys know the website is complete and done. Oh, check it out. It is wonderful, beautiful website it is that we've completed with Elaine Robinson, CEO and founder of Smiling Websites. Oh, Elaine did a wonderful job there on the website. So we want to give her a whole bunch of kudos and let her know we truly appreciate you for the work it is that you've done. As I've said, the website is complete and done. If you are a business owner looking for a place to put your products and services on, let others know about the work it is that you're doing in your community, you can reach out to us. Again, look at the website, www.wibeg.biz. Okay, y'all. That's where you can find information, products, and services. There's a directory on there, upcoming events. There's so much information that we've been putting on that website there that we want to share globally. Okay, this isn't just Washington State, y'all. This is global. So yes, definitely take a look at that website. Once again, that's www.wibeg.biz for more information. You can also email us, Women in Business Expo Group at yahoo.com. If you have further questions, concerns, or you just want to reach reach out to us for sure. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead then and jump in our interview today with our guest, Miss Sabrina Morris. And tell our listeners, Miss Sabrina, where are you calling in from today?
Actually, I'm calling in from Colorado. I'm a nomad now. I sold my house in Seattle with the intent of exploring the world.
Awesome. Well, we are glad to have you on the show with us this afternoon to talk about, the work it is that you've been doing. I mean, y'all, she's an author, business owner, specialized consultant, wears many hats. Okay, as many as of us women that do.
Right?
So we want to welcome you once again to the show, Miss Sabrina Morris. Why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I wanted to say thank you so much for having me today. And I'm so excited to encourage each and every one of the ladies that are listening to the show. And there may be some men out there as well that are listening to. I'm Sabrina. I'm known as the lifestyle promoter. I started in, and I'm going to refer to Robert Kiyosaki's quadrant. Everyone needs to know how money is generated. And then from that aspect, you decide on which quadrant you would like to play in. So, for example, I was in the E quadrant, which is known as the employee. Those of us who get up every day, we go to work, we do the grind, we come back, and we do it again. They tell us when to take vacation, when we can take a break, when we can talk in some cases, and when we can't. So that's the E quadrant. And then there's the S quadrant, which is the self employment quadrant. That's one where you start your own business, however, self employed, meaning if you don't show up, money doesn't always come in. Then there is the B quadrant, which is the business quadrant, and that's where you leverage other people's skills and talents and resources. Many of us that are working in the E quadrant, we are working for B quadrant only. And then there's my favorite, which is the I quadrant, which is the investment quadrant. That, in a nutshell, is where your money goes to work for you. But that's a whole nother conversation. So now that that's laid out, we're going to talk a little bit about where I started, which was in the E quadrant. I am known as an enterprise architect. What an enterprise architect does in a nutshell is design infrastructure for businesses. There's a lot more to it than that. So each of us are sitting in a building, if you are, or you're driving to a building. And when those buildings were created, you had architectural plans that were developed to figure out what type of buildings you were going to have. In businesses, they're not really created from a strategic standpoint where you have a design. Because of that, many times they'll pull pieces here and there. Let's pull this group together, let's pull another group together. And what will happen is if the leadership does not have clear visibility into the infrastructure of their organization and they want to make change, for example, if we were to knock out the wall behind me and say, let's extend that, they don't really know what's behind that wall. There could be electrical and plumbing there at the same time, which creates a mess. So, enterprise architects will go in, we will reverse engineer all the pieces and parts of that organization and create views or aspects of that infrastructure for all the people that play. Now, I know I said a lot, and it is a lot of work. So, what I did as an independent contractor or consultant is go in and solve executive problems. So, because they didn't have visibility into their infrastructure, they had they had problems that arose because of it. However, I enjoyed solving problems so much so that I wasn't taking care of Sabrina. I was not focused on me. Many women do that. We have family, we have friends, we have children, we have so many roles and hats. But if we do not focus on ourselves, we are not able to be our best to help others. So I had to learn that the hard way. So much so, my doctor was begging me to quit my job. I was extremely underpaid in corporate America. I was underappreciated. And I said, God, this has got to stop. I need a better option. Now, the whole time I was working for corporate America or in the E quadrant, I was learning, getting a financial education that's not taught in school about things like the quadrant that we talked about earlier. Given that, I went back and said, you know what? I'm tired of this E quadrant. I don't want to do the S quadrant because that relies too much on me. I decided to make a shift and pop over, if you will, to the other side of the quadrant and focus on building a big business as well as learning what investments look like and how does that play out. Now I say that because each of you may be saying, Sabrina, you just said a whole bunch of stuff. I don't even know if I can replay what you said. So can you help me in a nutshell? Yes, get an education. Once you have the information you need, then you can make an intelligent decision. Now, that doesn't say you're going to get all the information all at once, because sometimes it doesn't work that way. But don't wait. My mother used to say, make a decision, even if it's the wrong thing, but make a decision. And I always wondered why she said that. And she said that because even if you make the wrong decision, you will learn from that decision so that you can make a more intelligent pivot, if you will.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Well, that is definitely some good tips there, when it comes to being a business owner, an employee, an investor,
Mhm.
whatever your position is, definitely that. As I was reading through your bio and, of course, the information that was sent over to me prior to the radio show, you know, I always want to know, what inspired you to become a specialist consultant? I mean, what's the inspiration behind all of that?
I don't really believe that you happen into something, but because God gave me the gift to learn and learn quickly, it was fun seeing how you can enact change once you really understood how an organization functions. And many companies are like, I don't want to say a living, breathing organism, but they are in their own sense.
Right.
So, given my background, because my background is so diverse, a lot of times enterprise architects use what we call frameworks. And I had played, meaning I've had positions in most, if not all, aspects of the framework until I got out of corporate America. And now I play in the boardroom area as well. So, how did I happen into it? Number one, I like a big challenge, a huge challenge. The bigger the challenge, the more exciting I get. Exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, nobody's done this before. Nobody figured it out. Now, audience, I must confess, I cheat. And the way I cheat is I download from God, God who created the universe. So
Mm.
those of us who believe in the God who created the universe, who sent Jesus for us, we have an extra insight that other people do not have. We can go to God and say, God, I know you know everything. No one knows, nobody understood how to solve this problem or challenge. Would you show me how to do that?
Mhm.
And He will do that. So it was fun as an enterprise architect to see some of the challenges show up when people have been fired. I mean, groups of people have been fired, and then I show up. That was so exciting for me. That's how it came about. I found what I was good at and leveraged it. So
Yes.
each and every one of you need, and sometimes we don't want to recognize what we're good at for whatever reason. Maybe because it may make us stand out, set us apart. As kingdom citizens, we are set apart. So the sooner you realize that and you walk that out, the better it is for you. And there's
Yeah.
many times When you're in corporate America and God gave you the answer and no one else really understands what's going on, it can be uncomfortable to take the lead position where everyone else is questioning you, think you're crazy, don't understand, but it's okay. You have an additional insight that others do not have. The next point, after God gives you the answer, is God give me a strategy so I can help everyone else understand what needs to happen in my role to be successful. And
Hmm.
He will give you that as well.
Yes, and he always will too, you know. That's why he says for us to ask for those things. You know, tell me, Miss Sabrina, too, is, leadership. It seems you have a great, I'll say, expertise, maybe skills there in leadership. And I know in reading through your bio, you mentioned your mother. Tell us, tell our listeners there, how has your mother been an influence or has impacted your future, and maybe it sounds like too maybe some of your career decisions. How has your mother played a part there?
My mother transitioned to be with the Lord a little while ago, and it seems to me like it was 3 years. When
Hmm.
you love someone dearly, and I know we just came off of the holiday season, and many a time it can be challenging because those loved ones are not there with you to celebrate that season.
Hmm.
My mother was so inspirational. She was an entrepreneur. She was, she had a couple of her own businesses in the S quadrant. She was also an investor in the I quadrant. And I had the amazing opportunity in 2008, 6, 8, when the housing fell apart. She was my mentor. And she taught me to the fact that I can go in the house and say, okay, this house is going to cost about this much. This is what needs to be done. That's huge.
Yeah.
So my mother has influenced my life in so many ways. And I remember when she was transitioning to be with the Lord, she felt really bad because she wanted to leave us millions and millions of dollars. And my brothers, and I say brothers, and we'll talk about that later, she
Yeah.
birthed one son, but she had many, many children. And we looked and we said, Mother, the level of knowledge and on how to impact and make a change in our life that you have left us, that is our legacy. And if we do not take that legacy and generate millions of dollars, $100,000, whatever our goal is, that's on us. That's not on you. You left us an intangible legacy that is our responsibility to make it tangible. So
Yeah.
that's my mother. I mean, we still hear her wisdom, even though she's not here. We used to tease her about that all the time. Like,
Hmm.
Mother, even though you're not here, we're still going to hear your voice. And it's so true. Not just with me, but all of her sons, her extra daughters. And we joked about that at her homegoing celebration. Several of us disclosed some things that we were going through. And even in their dream, they said they heard Mother say, baby. And she started off that way, baby.
Yeah.
You know you're not supposed to be doing blah 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 blah. And we would all laugh and we'd ask our siblings from another mother, we'd say, what did you do? Like, what do you mean? What did I do? I did what Mother said so she doesn't come back and get me.
Uh,
So
that's
that's
it.
her.
Yeah, and you're definitely, touching on that point of legacy. Us as entrepreneurs and as business owners, that's something it is that we need to keep in mind too. Is what are we leaving behind, for not just our children, but our children's children.
Right, right,
That legacy. And it's so very important, for us to consider that, like I said, as business owners and keep those thoughts in mind, because Sabrina Morris here, she's touching on everything today. Okay, y'all. She's touching on it all. Yes, yes. Why don't you go ahead, let our listeners know too? Because as I said, as I was reading your bio and the information it was sent over, also found out that you are an author too. Why don't you let the listeners know a little bit more about the books it is that you have written?
So I've co-authored two books. The first book led to the second. The first book that I co-authored was with Matt Morris called Limitless Success. And no, I'm not related to him at all. He is in part of one of the businesses that I promote. He teaches millionaire school, which I've attended. I'm currently in the blitz of my business. We call that as well. In that book, I remember talking to the publisher, and the publisher said I had a different challenge than most people he talked to, is that I had so much material to pull from. So he said, why don't you tackle the elephant in the room? So each of you, we shared a little bit about what I did for corporate America, and think this, see this in your mind's eye. Been on a project, I'm asked to show up, and before I get there, people of non-color were on the project and failed. So I show up. So I had to deal with the elephant in the room that God blessed me with melanin. And it's a beautiful melanin. So a lot of times I would get pushback because of the complexion of my skin and not my capability. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with, and for each individual that are listening to this right now, each of you have a challenge, and don't let someone else say, "Oh, that's nothing." You should just. It's okay that you're a person of color and people don't listen to you. That's not a big deal. If it's a big deal to you, it is a big deal. Now, what you have to do is overcome that challenge, and what does that look like? So, in the book, I talked about how my mother helped me overcome that challenge at an early age because my background was so diverse. God gave me a gift to learn, and I was good at whatever He put in front of me. That's a blessing from Him. And when I was faced with the pushback from white America, I'm just going to be clear, and calling me names that begin with the N, that's not in a positive way. I saw myself as an individual first, who got blessed with melanin. I had no idea of the backlash that would come when I showed up. So, how do you deal with that? And my mother always told me to start with God's word. That will get you through anything you face.
That's definitely it too, is having that kind of spiritual foundation is what we'll call that. That's definitely a part of a good business owner, we'll say.
Mhm. Exactly.
Definitely. That's it too. For those of you that are just tuning in, you are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World. This is Women Empowerment Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Carmelle Bias. We are in the studio once again with our guest this afternoon, Miss Sabrina Morris, all the way from Colorado today with us. So we are glad to have her on the show here. Miss Sabrina, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know, who is your target audience? I mean, it sounds like you've transitioned from corporate America, doing some life coach training. It sounds like, but also to as an author. And I know that there's some other business entities it is that you have going on also too that are out there that you are building. Definitely, so let our listeners know. Who is your target audience? Who is that audience listener, that customer it is that you're looking for?
That's an excellent question because it's very, very important as business owners to define our target audience. A lot of times when we say that, we get pushback. Oh, everybody can use it. Well, start with a target audience first. Develop that audience and then go to your next target audience. So for my target audience right now, for most of my businesses, those who want more than the status quo, those who want to there's a scripture that says God takes pleasure in the prosperity of His children, who want to take that scripture to heart and say, you know what, God, I'm going to have you really taking pleasure in my prosperity. And there's many aspects to prosperity. But right now we're going to talk about financial prosperity because, and I like talking about that because a lot of people push back on that. And I like to question the pushback and say, well, if the word also says, it talks about poverty not being a good thing. And when you're broke or poor, don't have the resources, financial resources you can't give. You can't give to the kingdom.
Hmm.
You can't give. You can't give. You can't even pay for your training that you need so that you can be the expertise in your profession. I can go on and on.
Hmm.
Okay, and I think I'm a little sidetracked, but somebody needed to hear that. So the target audience, thank you, God. The target audience, those who want the status quo and the opportunity, and they have a mindset that says, you know what, I'm open to additional streams of income. Now, a lot of people will ask me, Sabrina, how did you transition from the E quadrant over to the B and the I quadrant? Did you just quit your job? I'm like, whoa, wait. There's preparation that has to take place.
That's it.
We talked about training. When you get a leave, if your boss will allow you to take your vacation, you know you worked for it and it's on the books. I would challenge you to take that time and get some education. For example, let's say you know you want to start a business. Do you know what entity you want to use for that business? You have no idea what an entity is? You need some training.
Right.
Go and get some training. My mother would always put me in classes, even when I was in middle school, on finances that were not in the school. Schools do not teach that type of information. Okay,
Mhm.
there are cash flow games out there. You can go to the well, just Google it, cash flow game. When I was in Seattle, I would facilitate the cash flow game 101 and 202, and I'm facilitating the new cash flow game here in Colorado as well. No matter where I travel to, if there is a group that wants to learn from a cash flow game, I will set that up and facilitate, and I'll tell you why. When I worked for corporate America, I used to write simulations. Simulations are what we use to prove out if what we thought we were going to do would work. Okay? Instead of spending all of this money laying out the infrastructure, we would use a tool called a simulation to implement what we were going to lay out and then check our numbers and see if we got our results. Okay? The cash flow game, by my expertise, is nothing but an excellent simulation. So whenever someone's sitting on my board, and I have the opportunity to facilitate because I learned so much from those who are in the game. I tell them, you start with your balance sheet. Many of you don't know what a balance sheet is. Some of you do. When we went to college, learned took accounting, they told us to create a balance sheet for a business. You can do the same thing for yourself. Okay? So the the cash flow game is an amazing way to simulate your own balance sheet.
Yeah.
So if you say, I want to be an S quadrant, you can simulate that there. So
Mhm.
what we do is, well, what I do on my board is tell everybody, whatever you're thinking about implementing, you can implement here on this board. Now, if it doesn't work, fine, you learn something. When you play again, you're going to pivot and then simulate that as well. Did it work? Great. Keep doing it. What are you learning? So for example, that's one thing I did a lot of when I worked for corporate America. Even though I went to college, I would fly into Colorado from Seattle, get on the cash flow game for the weekend. I know a lot of you think this is extreme, but
Yeah.
many of you need to take an extreme position if you do not like the lifestyle you have. So I get on a plane, I come to Colorado, I play the cash flow game, I get on a plane and go back.
Yeah.
I would do things like go out to there's many different trading platforms that would train me. Tasty Trade. I'm a tasty trader. You know, they have the little cherry out there. You can
Yeah.
go out there, they have tons of information. Tom Sosma, he does an amazing job with a mission statement of educating the general public about investing. So you don't have to rely on someone else to invest your money. And then when it's all gone, you didn't even get a financial education. You have no clue. Get an education. Okay. I know I beat the word
Absolutely.
education up, but my mother used to say that to us all the time. Start
Yeah.
there.
That's definitely it. Miss Sabrina, I want to go ahead and thank you for being our guest this afternoon here on Women Empowerment Talk Radio. And I want to thank our listeners for tuning in today to the show. And once again, like I said, just want to thank everybody, and we're looking forward again to a fabulous 2023, y'all. Until next time.